It would be very old news for me to announce to you this morning that there has been a major shift in the West. A shift that has been marked by our ideas about truth, about capital T truth. No longer are we dealing with competing claims of truth. There was a time when men found themselves thrashing each other in rational dialogue over whether one position or another position was true. But now we've moved away from that. Now the issue is whether anyone can claim any truth. And this is indeed a significant departure. You see the beginnings of the turn in men like that wicked, atheistic, existentialist philosopher at the turn of the previous century, Nietzsche, who went on to ask what he considered a dangerous and exhilarating question. Looking over the history of philosophy, he said, "Why truth? Why not untruth?" And he went on to assert that there are no facts, only interpretations. And sadly, much of that ideology has creeped under the door of Christendom, even Reformed Christendom, within the 20th century. And so the move has been away from claims about true propositions and so on. All of this bore a very disfigured philosophical child in what we call deconstructionism. People like Foucault and Derrida and Rorty and people you haven't heard of and read, hopefully won't have to read, but who have gone so far to apply all of that to language and say, you know what? There is no objective meaning in texts, including the Bible, but any text. And so it's all a matter of your subjective interpretation of those texts. And so the trend has been to move away from claims of truth toward what works. You know, what's important now is not what's true, but what's important is what works. And this has elevated in the minds of most people the primacy of technique, which finds its full expression in our intoxicating infatuation with technology. And so there's this great emphasis on power, the power to do stuff. You know, what works and what works best in any area of life. And so all of this trickles down into your neighbors and the people on the street. I deal with people on the streets of Greenville. And so it's not far-fetched and remote. You know, these are real people who say, you know what, when you're talking to them, your views about homosexuality, I can understand, given where you're coming from, you know, given your background and persuasion, I can understand how you would reach the conclusions you've reached. But that's true for you, and so that's good for you, but it's not true for me. You see, this is the way that the people in the streets are beginning to think and speak. And you say, true for you, not true for me. I mean, what does that mean? I mean, ultimately, truth is not person relative, is it? It's not a matter of truth isn't found within us. Truth is found outside of us, something we can appeal to. And so what happens is they can say, this is true for me, and the exact contradictory opposite is true for you. Well, that violates the most basic laws of thought, right? The law of it ends up in irrationality. In other words, to say what is true for you is not true for me is nonsensical. It is completely unintelligible. It's noise. But it actually doesn't compute. It's self-refuting. It's like those who say there are no absolute truths. Well, is it an absolute truth that there are no absolute truths? I mean, you can go right on with listing zillions of these sorts of self-defeating ideas. And this is where we're at. People have gladly leaped off the cliff into the abyss of irrationality. And so all of that provides the context for the witness of the church. And the church comes, and we come with the gospel, and we say, Christ himself is the embodiment of truth. I am the way, the truth, and the life. We come making claims that God is the source of truth, that he's revealed truth, that it's knowable, that the Bible is a true word that has come from heaven. We come asserting claims of truth in a context that does not even understand what the word means anymore. And the point is, we have to be conscious of that. We have to begin many of our conversations with people, helping them even get back to a credible way of thinking so that we can speak intelligently to them and they can understand what we're saying about the truth of the gospel and so on. Well, all of this is providing relevance. So I don't want to come to this text and say, this is what was happening with Paul and Titus in Crete, and leave it there. We need to understand all of that. But I want you to see from the onset of this sermon the relevance and the applicability of all of what is being said to us. So we're not just preaching about something, we are preaching to ourselves the same truths that Paul and Titus were preaching in their own day.